So we're making a YouTube video right now of how to enter in the info for the client. We said we need three, we have to have some windows open. We have to have a marketing list, a Google spreadsheet, and a Google Calendar. So let me show you how I do that. I have a Excel spreadsheet over here, which has the marketing list. I have over here I'm going to show you the Google Drive, where we go over here. We have Office files. We have patients. We have patients form for Office, patient profiles, and we also go to patient profiles for Google Calendar with backup. Okay. Now this is the Google Calendar over here. We can move this to a different new window, and we can open up another tab for another calendar. So now we have what we need. We have what we need. We have a patient profiles open, and we have the Google Calendar open also, and we have the sample marketing list. Okay. Once we are inside the patient profiles for Google Backup, Google Calendar with backup, what we need to do is we need to insert a column to the right. We take column E, we copy, and you're going to see that Google insists that you use your keyboard. So it might look like I'm going fast, but I'm just using Control C, Control V a lot. So in F column we hit Control V. Oops. Control C, Control V, and we widen the F column so we can see things a little bit better. I'm going to move this so that way we have our case over here, F. I'm going to type in the first name, which is Woodrow Wilson, and his phone number, which is over here. All right. And this, we're going to put in my name since I'm the person who's dealing with the patient right now who's entering in. Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. You don't need that there. I'm the person who's reading this column. So I'm going to type in Jason V. This is a reminder to highlight the column. So we go over here, we hit the F, we click on F, or we can hit, there's a button that you can hit which is called Control, put this in red for you, and Spacebar. If you hit Control Spacebar, it will do the same thing. I'll show you right now, Control Spacebar, and we want the color, we'll use a dark blue, so that way we know exactly the column, we won't forget. The date of the current interaction, we hit Control semicolon. So that's Control semicolon right over there. And also to get back between windows, I do this without thinking often, Alt Tab. Alt Tab. When I hold down the Alt button, which is what I'm doing right now, I'm holding down Alt, it kind of freezes this little area. Freezes that little menu selection of which window you want. So we're going to hit Control semicolon. We have our date. That's the current date at this second, at this moment. And Control Shift semicolon. Control Shift semicolon will give us the current time. All right. It's really early in the morning. So now, back up this file. Email as attachment. Copy and paste this into the subject. Start a backup. Remember, we're going to hit Control C. File. Email as attachment. Type in my name, Jason Dental, and Jason V as the virtual secretary. So if your name's Tina T, it'll be Tina T virtual secretary at gmail.com over here. But you're always going to send an email back up to me, Jason Dental DMD. I always want to make sure there's a backup of everything. I hit Control A to get rid of the subject and paste, so I have a new subject, and Control V. And Control A, by the way, is Control A. It selects all. So don't start dragging and stuff unless you have to. Control A will get it all real fast. Now we hit send. We'll take a moment. And you should know at this point in time, we have a little backup, but we also know that I'm starting to work. Now I'm starting to work as a secretary at 8:48 on 1/6/2014. Okay, so the last treatment goals, we don't know it. The patient never came in. Patient named Woodrow Wilson never came in. Now we're in a zone called trying to remember what happened the last time we had contact with the patient. I put a 0 here. There's already a 0 because he's never came in. Here's another 0. He never came in. The client rank is very important to us. In this case, we use numbers to describe how important the patient is to us, and patients who need crowns and fillings will get a higher number than someone who's healthy and maybe needs just a cleaning. So Woodrow Wilson gets a 9. We can copy and we can paste, or we can just simply type in the number 9 or 8 or whatever number it is. Type in 9. The goal of the first appointment is always registration. It takes 45 minutes. How much money should the patient bring? He has to bring in zero shekels, $0. Comments to the secretary. Sometimes I tell the secretary something. He's a nice guy. He's a bad guy. Whatever it is, it's important. And this is where you should put all those comments. We don't delete comments. We just move them into a different box, which is over here. Comments for the dentist. Sometimes you'll see I'm gonna give a comment for myself. For instance, make sure to get the patient's chart 3 days before and review his X-rays. It could happen. Enter total appointments. We have 0 appointments total. That he's been here only 0 times, so he's never been to clinic. Sometimes if I want if I might say, send me a reminder 3 days before. This is just a little reminder for you, for the secretary to set up a reminder for me 3 days before. Okay, punctuality. We do want to know, sometimes the patient comes in late, sometimes he comes in early. We want to know. This influences his rank. So if we have 2 patients, one has a crown, the other has a crown, but the first guy always shows up on time, and the other guy never shows up on time, we don't want to, we want to give preference to the one who's punctual, who's always on time. Okay, so these give us an idea as to what we're trying to do with the Google Calendar. What's our objective with the Google Calendar? We want to make a phone log event. If you forgot what that means, it basically means that we want to schedule an event. We're scheduling an event through a date and time as to when we are going to phone the patient Woodrow. Okay? We're not updating clinical activity. There's no phone log event that we did beforehand. There's no appointment book. We're not trying to make an appointment. That's very important. Right now, we're just trying to do one thing, which is schedule a phone call. We're not on the phone with the patient, so we can't create an appointment book event. We can't create an appointment with him. Once we get him on the phone, we can ask him, would you like to make a new appointment? And he'll say, hopefully, yes. And then we ask him the next question is, what date and time would you like? And then we'll talk about that later. So, we're going to keep scrolling down. Here's a list of the 10 Commandments, which was discussed in a previous PowerPoint. You click over here, and you're going to see all the 10 Commandments. You're going to have to say 10 Commandments just briefly if you forgot. It's certain sentences that you have to say to the patient. For instance, you have to ask him why he wants to see a dentist. You have to tell him that students do not do dentures. You need to tell the patient directions, how to get to the dental school. Okay, let's keep continuing. Here's the PowerPoint, and this is the Google Doc typed up as just a regular document. It's always important to read the 10 Commandments, so we put a 1 over there. Does the patient have an appointment already? No, he does not, so we have a 0. Instead of using yes and no, we use 1s as yes and 0s no. Appointment statistic zone. We don't care. There's no competition right now for this appointment. Sometimes you might have a double booking, which means that these 2 patients are competing with each other to try and get the same appointment. But we're not going to deal with that now. So now we're going to pretend as if we're making a phone call. The reason why we're pretending is because it's as if we're talking to the patient and we know his name, we know his phone number, and now we're just going to try and schedule a phone call with him. So, do we want to cancel the appointment? No, he doesn't want a new appointment. We discussed this. He's again, not to go over, not to repeat it too much, we do not, does the patient want a new appointment? No, we don't. We didn't talk to him. We don't know if he wants a new appointment. Perhaps when we call him, he will say to us, call me back tomorrow, call me back in a week. We don't know. So we're going to skip these next, the light blue boxes over here. These light, all these light blue boxes are dealing with just a basic interview of the patient, talking about certain things that he, just the basic questions, why he came to the student clinic, when was he last at a dentist. When we talk about, this is the zone about talking about updating appointment book event, the status update. It lets us know questions as if when we talk to the patient, are you going to be on time? Is there a reason why you're going to be delayed? Now, but that's not important right now. This is a dental history interview. We're going to deal with that again. That's later. So, no answer on phone. We're pretending as if the patient's answering. So we're not talking about a cancellation because we're not having any cancellations. We can't talk to the patient about creating a new appointment, so we have to skip this zone. Now, talking about the next phone log event, basically the next time we make a phone call, this is important to us. I have it set up that the computer will always suggest to the user, the secretary, a time and a date to phone call the patient. This time and date is based on when the next appointment is for the patient. Since we have no set appointment, there's no suggested date. So you can choose any date and time that you want. Typically, we call patients on Sundays and Mondays around 8 o'clock. So I'm going to hit Control semicolon again. And what's interesting is if you double click the box, a mini calendar will come up, which is really nice, that Google spreadsheet does. Maybe we want to call them on the 9th, so we click on the 9th. Or we double click and we want to call them on the 13th, so we can call them the 13th. I want to call them, let's say for instance today, so we hit Control semicolon and we type in the date of, I'm going to type in the time of, I don't want to do 8 o'clock, we're going to do 1930. So 7:30 we're going to call them. That's a Monday. Today's a Monday. I have this, this is the formula secretary on duty for the next phone log event. I have this all set up so that way, based on the date and the time, I will know exactly which secretary is available to do the job. I'm going to show you over here eventually if you're going to have to type in your hours the secretary wants to work, which is over here. Just briefly, I don't want to digress too much. So in this hours the secretary wants to work, which is related to the formula over here, we're going to see that Tina wants to work at these crazy hours at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. It doesn't make a difference what hours you want. And we can see fake secretary wants to work at that time, fake secretary 2, fake secretary 3. I just made up these names. When you come in, you'll type in your name. If your name is Michael J, you put in your name and you start typing away, which is fine. And you can scroll all the way down. You can choose any hours that you want, any days, it doesn't matter to me, as long as you put in a 1. Okay? So any time and date that you want. Now keep in mind, of course, at certain dates and certain times there might not be work to do. But in certain days and times, like on a Sunday on the 5th around 19 o'clock to 22 o'clock, there might be a need to make 30 phone calls. So that's going to be a very high demand time. So going back to what we were saying, we're just trying to get Woodrow's name into the system and set up on Google Calendar a scheduled event to phone call him.